Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Red Path. Okay, so thanks for tuning in for episode 1 of the Delvarus is in the Details. In this painting tutorial series, we're going to be focusing on those little tips and tricks, small quick tutorials that are going to help you bring your models from where they are in a pretty okay place up to that next level. It's going to be all those like little techniques, those small finishing touches that are really going to advance your model from something that looks good to something that looks great. So in these series, we're going to focus on little things, like blood effects. We're going to focus on weathering, chipping, highlighting, and specifically in this one, we're going to look at freehanding. So in this first episode 1, we're going to look at basic freehanding. So these are like, your simple symbols, runes, motifs, that kind of a thing, basic techniques, and sort of like the approach I take to those. And in future videos, we're going to look at more advanced versions of this. So more complicated freehanding with, shading and layering and all that sort of good stuff. But for now, grab yourself a brew, sit back, and enjoy the video. Alrighty everyone, so today we're going to be looking at some basic freehand techniques. And when I say basic, I mean very simple sort of line design. So for what we're working on today, I'm going to run you through how to paint like a sort of simplistic chaos star as well as some runes and stuff like that. And in another video, we'll focus on more advanced freehanding techniques and what that entails. But when it comes to any form of freehand designing, there's two main things you need to consider. So one is the surface area of what you're working on. So you can see here we have this banner. It's from the Bloodletter kit. It's quite a nice banner. It's nice and flat, so it gives you a lot of scope for your freehanding. And the second thing you're going to want to focus on is the actual design that you're putting down and the size and dimensions of that. So you need to marry those two concepts together. So basically, think a lot about the area that you're working with, as well as the size of the design you're going to want to be putting down. Now that'll make more sense as we dive into it. So let's get that started, and yeah, let's do it. Okay, so the first thing I always do when it comes to freehand designing is I usually draw up the design on a piece of paper. Now this is important for a couple of reasons. First of all, it gives you a good understanding of the sort of design that you're working with, what goes into actually painting that design, as well as giving you an idea of the area, what sort of a space this design is going to be taking up. Now it's obviously scaled up in this drawing here, but I can see that I'm going to need this rectangular shape to actually, put it down on the model. So once you have that decided, once you have a design you're comfortable with, that's really the main thing, because you don't want to start painting some freehand and then midway through decide that, oh, maybe actually I wanted to do something different, or the design isn't quite exactly how you envisioned it. I find this especially when you're painting like demonic runes like the ones we have here. If you just start into it with no idea of what you're actually going to be painting, you might find yourself a little bit confused halfway through and thinking, maybe I want to alter this. So lay it down on a piece of paper first. It seems tedious or unnecessary, but believe me, it will help. And you can use it as a reference point when you're actually painting then to make sure that you're adhering to your original design, or if you're making slight alterations or whatever. So yeah, get that done first, and then we can actually take a look at the model. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is marking out a rough plan of the design. So when I say this, I mean we're essentially going to be putting in little dots where the utmost points of the design are going to be. Now this is going to help inform the overall size, as well as kind of reinforcing the idea of, what I talked about at the start, like the scale and stuff, and like the area that you're working with. It's basically making sure that when you get down to actually painting the design, that you're going to be staying inside the lines. Now you can see it's very, very subtle. We've just put two dots, one on the top and one on the bottom. And what these are representing basically is the utmost points of the chaos star. So we have the utmost point of the top and the bottom. Now we're going to do that as well just over here. where we think the right hand's point is going to be. And we're going to do it on the left as well. So this is basically just to ensure that when we actually are painting on the star, that we know we're not going further than these points here. So it's a little bit hard to see, but you can see we have those 4 points done. So I'm just going to dot in the rest of the main points, and then I'll come back and show you guys what we have. Okay, so we've dotted in the overall design, so you can see there's like an outline of the chaos star starting to come out here. Now it's not particularly even or tidy, and it doesn't have to be at this point. That's entirely fine. But yeah, basically we have a good plan as such of the overall design. We can see now that it's fitting in the area, you know, and it's a good size too, and that's really why this outlining and dotting step is important. So if at any point you see that there's something going on that you're not quite happy with, such as, like, you know, maybe the lines aren't aligning, or maybe there's just some alterations you want to make, that's no problem. You can always pencil over the dots, rather than, as you can imagine, if you were halfway through drawing, we'll say like a big line down here, and then you decided maybe it's not lining up perfectly, you've wasted a lot of time, it's harder to manage and stuff. So yeah, what we're going to be essentially doing now is connecting the dots. So I'm using Mephiston Red here. This is going to be like the base layer for the design. So I'm essentially going to connect all the dots up, make it into a solid looking sort of foundation, pencil in any extra details that I want to do, and then we're going to come back and see where we're looking at. Okay, so we've now basically joined up all the dots of our outline, and we have a fairly good idea of the chaos star that we're working on here. Now, you'll probably find, at least if you paint like I do, you know, not particularly carefully, or, you know, that you sometimes have these like little errors and stuff, or that not all the lines are exactly how you want them. So at this step, I generally tend to go back, so with the sort of layer that the banner is, so that, you know, black in this case, and I'm going to do some edits basically to make sure that everything is looking as sharp and as detailed as possible. So for example, like at the base of the banner here, where there's like this little mess up that I did here, where the dots weren't exactly lined up as they should be, and over here I'm going to refine this arrow here, as well as shortening the prongs of the arrow here and here, stuff like that, you know, just making sure that the design is nice and clean. So yeah, this is essentially an editing step, so I'm going to be going back with the black, sorting all that out. Now I'm leaving the actual lines nice and thick here because we're going to be working in to try and get a sort of burning, glowing design going on. So the initial layer is going to be quite thick, as that's serving as the foundational color over which we're going to be building up the next couple of layers. So yeah, let's get this editing step done, and then we're going to come back. Okay, so we've refined our banner with some editing with the base coat, like I said, and we've added a couple of little extra designs. And what we're going to be doing next is working on the flame design. So basically for this, I've taken some Evil Sun Scarlet, and what we're going to be doing is working inside the design that we've already created. Now we're going to have to be quite careful here, because we need to make sure that we're not completely going over the previous layer. We want to leave some of that residue behind, so that we're giving that sort of flame effect going on. So as you can see here, we're working from the center outwards, and we're just being really careful. Take your time, you know. This is kind of the step that requires a little bit more focus. So what you're going to want to do is basically work over the whole banner and put down that Evil Sun Scarlet layer. So we're going to come back after we've done all that and take a look at the next step. Okay, so we've put down our layer of Evil Sun Scarlet, and the banner's looking pretty nice now. You know, we've got a very distinct design which is standing out from the background black. So at this point we're going to work a little bit more on the actual like sort of glow effect that we're going for. Now this is essentially going to be repeating the last step. So we're taking Trollslayer Orange at this point. Now the thing about this is you want to be really focusing on where you've decided that the epicenter of the glow is. So for this banner, I've decided that the center is going to be the actual central point of the star. Now alternatively, you could make it so that the entire star itself is the glow, and you could basically, you know, do this step and work over the entire star and pencil the whole thing in with the Trial Slayer sort of line work. But in this case, I'm focusing on the center. So what that means is that as we work out towards the end of the star, we're going to leave off on some of the design. So I'm probably going to stop at about midway down, maybe about this point here, the Trial Slayer orange. And for these smaller arrows, I'm going to probably stop close to the actual point of the arrow. We're still going to work all around the circle because we have a couple of more similar steps to this to do. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're basically going to pencil down that Trial Slayer orange and come back for the next step. Okay, so we've put down our layer of Trial Slayer orange. As you can see, we've worked, quite far, probably a little bit further than I initially said because I was kind of just feeling that vibe. And like when you're working on stuff yourself, you don't have to follow my word exactly as I say. If you're feeling the vibe, just go with it, do whatever feels right. So next up, we're going to be basically doing the same thing again, but with a brighter orange. So we're using Fire Dragon Bright on this point. And yeah, it's more or less the same idea as before, working out from the epicenter of the glow. And we're going to leave a little bit more of that, that previous layer behind again. So you can see here we're properly starting to get an actual like glow effect, and after this layer we're basically going to hit it with a yellow tone and then very bright yellow, like a mix of yellow and white. And we're going to be pretty much done the actual glow effect at that point. We can move on to the demonic runes. So yeah, let's get this layer laid down and then we'll catch up and we'll see about the next step. Okay, so we have our Fire Dragon Bright layer put down now, and as you can see, we are sort of starting to get that organic glow effect going on. It kind of has that sort of Lord of the Rings feel, I guess, to it. So what we're going to be doing at this point is we're going to be doing our sort of main glow layer. So this is with Uriel Yellow. Now you want to be quite sparing with this. Essentially what we're going to be doing is working on a very small area. We're going to focus on the actual point here of the star. And we're going to branch out a very little bit just up and down here and here. And I'm also going to pick out some points, like you see these like mini sort of lines that we have coming off here. I'm going to pick out the middle points of those as well with the Uriel Yellow. And we might do a little bit just up here and just over here as well, just to give some nice contrasting glows. Now, really when it gets to this point, doing bright yellows like this, the less you do, the better. If you overdo it at this point, the whole sort of design is just going to get a bit washed out, and the overall effects and different tones that we've built up are going to get a bit lost. So let's lay down that Uriel Yellow layer, and we'll see what we have after that. Okay, so we have our Uriel Yellow put down now. So you can see we've basically been very careful and worked just in this like central area, as well as a little bit up here and a little bit down there, just to give some interesting sort of variation going on. So everything doesn't look uniform, it's got that chaotic element to it. So essentially to finish this off, we're just going to be doing another layer even closer to the center of the glow effects that we have going on. And this is going to be about a 60-40 mix of Uriel Yellow and White Scar. So we're going to get that put down, and then we'll come back and take a look at this thing. Okay, so we have our main Chaos Star pretty much finished up now. So now that we've put down that last layer of the mix of Uriel Yellow and the White Scar, we have this this pretty nice and interesting glow variation going on. You can see like lots of different tones going on in the banner. We have our darker reds and oranges, and then our higher points of yellow. So essentially what we're going to be doing in this point is we're going to pencil in the runes. So I'm probably going to work in probably 2 lines. I'm going to have a rune of lines coming down here, and a line of runes coming down here as well. Now the thing about doing like scripture and runes and stuff, it's often better to work quick and fast with these. You don't want to be building up too many layers because you have to pay a lot of attention if you want to do that correctly, and like you're working with such a small surface area that they can kind of mush together and get a bit smudgy if you're working with lots of different layers. So we're going to quickly put down some rune designs in Mephiston Red, and then we're going to come back and see what those are looking like. Okay, so we've put down our sort of random runes and stuff on the bottom, some sort of demon stuff going on. I mean, I don't know, whatever demons write about in their own spare time. So yeah, the key thing with runes is do your lines nice and fast. You know, you want to be going sort of swift movements with your brushes. So when you're coming in, you know, just going like that kind of thing. If you spend too long, you know, going really slow with a brush like this, you run the risk of messing it up by basically taking too much time on it, and it'll start clumping up and get messy. Now, because of that, we're probably not going to do this fancy sort of glow effect on the runes as well. You certainly can, and we'll probably do it to a lesser degree, so we're going to build up some highlights and stuff, just so that the runes don't look like this monotone bland color. But we're probably not going to do it to the same extent as the Chaos Star here. We're going to use a couple of different reds. We might work in an orange or two, but we don't really want to detract attention away from this main central focus of the banner, which is the star. But we certainly do want to bring a bit more light to the runes. You know, we want to make them pop a little bit more than they already are, without working too much into them, so that you run the risk of mushing it all together and that sort of stuff. So let's lay down a couple of reds and orange tones on these. We're basically going to be doing the same techniques as we did for the star, and then let's see how the whole thing is looking. Okay, so we basically finished doing these little touch highlights on the runes. So we went with some Evil Sun Scarlet and a little bit of Trollsire Orange in the end. Now, we kept them sort of married to the overall design without, you know, brightening them in such a way that it conflicts with the main Chaos Star, which is the focus. But, you know, they're still very clear. You know, you can really sort of see that while the design is similar, it doesn't take away from the overall effect of the burning star. So that's going to be pretty much it for this sort of basic freehand technique tutorial. Now, you can apply this across like a range of different designs, like, you know, the World Leaders logo if you were to be doing it, or sort of any other kind of basic freehand techniques that you want to do. So just, you know, let's revise the basics again. So it's going to be sketch out your design first of all, outline everything by dotting it all in, make sure you're working in a surface area you're comfortable with, and know your boundaries, and then basically, yeah, you know, pencil it all together, join the dots, lay down whatever highlights you're feeling like doing, and make sure at any point if you need to edit that you have the underlying tone ready. So in this case it was black for this banner, but you know, if you're working with more complex cloth and mixes like that, you know, you need to have those mixes ready just in case you need to do any editing. You don't want to get like a really nice blend on a cape and then have to go back afterwards and try and work out how to do that blend again just to edit something. So make sure you keep track of those. So yeah, that's basically it for this banner. We're going to do some more complex ones in the future, but until then, yeah, that's the banner done. Well everyone, thanks for tuning in for this episode of The Delvarus is in the Details. We covered some fun little things today, some nice little tips and tricks that will hopefully help augment your models further, bring them up to that, you know, next level sort of stuff. While it was a more basic video in terms of freehand techniques, we're going to cover some more advanced things in a future video, but I wanted to get this kind of foundation idea going down first before we dive into the really complicated stuff. So I'm going to give you guys, you know, a couple of weeks to practice on that, get yourselves more comfortable with freehanding and all that kind of good stuff, and then, you know, we're going to dive into the real nitty-gritty of freehanding. But until then, you guys stay healthy, stay safe, and kill Mainbird.